Welcome, 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 my bows and bow ties. All right, so you're like probably wondering what is going on. So, I want to welcome you to another chit chat with me. I am the Black Opinionated Woman, also known as Abel, who is out here this early on a Sunday. All right, anyway, so I am sitting out on my front porch because I want to try something different, but this wasn't very smart because it's a little chilly out here. I got my house robe on because this is how I do. All right, so for those of you who are new to my channel, I like to talk about three things: Black women, Black culture, and anything related to middle age. As you can see, this is what I look like when I wake up. I took my bonnet off. I look like I have on some old makeup from yesterday. I don't know. Anyway, so let's see if I can get through this quickly. Black women, Black culture, anything related to middle age to include um, how your relationships change, parenting, career changes, and everything like that. Those things that kind of like go with being in middle age. And so, for those of you who don't know, I know I'm looking crazy right now, but I am 45. So, this is why I look like this. I still think I look good for my age. But anyway, so why am I here? Like I said, typically I don't like to. Why do I still have my shenanigans thing up on here? I need to take that off. That was from my last situation. Let me find that. Oh, where is it? Sorry, hold on. I don't know why I left that on there. Let's try this again. So, I don't typically like to do things on a Sunday, but I was awake and I was going to save this conversation that I'm going to have for another time, but I figured, why not do it now? As you can see, the birds are chirping. I've got my cup of coffee here. I made sure I put it in a travel situation so I don't have one of my mugs out here and accidentally break it or something. All right. Don't come out here. All right. So I had a conversation with someone who is older than me, who happens to be Black and a man. And it was all predicated on the conversation I really don't want to have because I'm over the topic already, which was Will and Jada Smith. And, a lot of people will be like, Jada's the problem. I'm like, let's make this clear. Jada and Will both contributed to the weird destruction that's going on in their marriage. But Jada's not responsible for Will walking up on that stage. Will needs to deal with his own trauma. And so multiple things can be true at once. Yes, do I think Jada can be a mess because she is completely emasculating him in the media? Yes. But this is what I say: Will Smith is no longer the victim, he is the volunteer. He is remaining in that situation. I don't know what they need to do to get it right, but I don't really want to have this conversation anymore about other people's relationships, right? He continues to remain in that relationship. I don't know if it's Stockholm syndrome, Stockholm syndrome, or what, where you continue to remain with your captor. It doesn't look like I'm looking directly at the camera. So if you want to know what I'm using my iPad right now. So, needless to say, I'm like really pretty much over the whole situation. I don't really care. I mean, that's their business, right? I just need to worry about my business. So, but what led out of that conversation was a whole conversation about Black men and Black women. And for me, I am really irritated with myself. Let me go ahead. Hold on, let me find my banner. That's what we're going to talk about today. I engaged in a fruitless conversation and I am mad at myself because those are cycles that I cannot get back. Okay? So, if you joined in, there it is. That was the thumbnail. I wasted mental cycles on a stupid conversation. Okay, let me see. Can I make it bigger? Uh, let's try it this way. All right, we'll keep it this way. All right, so look. Not only am I irritated that I wasted mental cycles, I went down the rabbit hole with someone that I thought was, I just held him in high regard for a long time until he gave me dum dum vibes. So you'll hear men say, like, don't engage in having conversations with women because they're so emotional, this, that, and the other, whatever. I just let people be what they are. But let me tell you the reason why I was irritated with this conversation. And you guys are going to, like, probably be like, you really just went down this rabbit hole. Number one, this all came from the whole Will and Jada conversation, right? So it had a lot to do with the whole accountability conversation. His whole thing was blaming black women for everything that was basically wrong. And I said, I find it really interesting that there are a bunch of men out here in these streets who continuously keep black women in their mouth. They're keeping them in their mouth. And interestingly enough, it's like the black women are the sole reason what's going on that's failing the black community. I said, when people are accountable, you look like I dried up. Oh, sorry, not wrong side. Dried up gel here. I use something called glaze. It's like all white and stuff. I need to get that out of my hair. I'm not a fan of that. So I said, look, this is the thing that tickles me most is when people are angry about stuff. The first thing they say is black woman, black woman, black woman. And I'm over it. This is why I say these are fruitless conversations because we don't engage in anything that's going to present a solution. We don't engage in anything that's positive where we build or whatever. So one of the things that he was talking about was it came back to the age-old conversation about single motherhood. And I said, two things can be true. Black women should choose better men, right? But black women cannot get pregnant by black men unless black men are spreading their seed. His answer is, well, that's why black women need to choose. I'm like, no, no, no. Check your black men. Black men need to stop spreading their seed. If they're not spreading seed, black women can't get pregnant, right? So black women need to choose better men. But even when they think they're choosing the right men, right? I'm like, black women cannot get pregnant by black men if black men don't spread their seed. I saw somebody pop in and then pop out. Copy. I'm going to put this in the comments if you want to join in, but I'm going to finish having this conversation that was referencing the fruitless conversation that I had. So the person that I was having a conversation with was like, yeah, but why are they sleeping with these men? I'm like, why are these men sleeping with the women? I said, it goes both ways. I said, what happens is when men and women get together and copulate, what happens is they want to pin this scarlet letter on black women and call them Hester Prynne. For those of you who don't know the reference, that's from, I believe it was The Crucible. It's a classic, right? So, like, you get the scarlet letter. It's like a scarlet letter. I think it was a letter A. I can't remember. It's been so long. As many times as I've read that book. So, it's like they get the scarlet letter. And I said, I hate having this conversation because it's rooted in ding dongery. I'm like, how can you possibly tell me as a black man that there should be leadership and the first thing you won't do is lead and you're not accountable for your own actions? There's this pervasive effort to check black women, and I don't hear anything about man checking. This is the reason why I always tell black women to stay out of those channels. Stop trying to engage with the men who are in that weird sphere. Don't do it. It's not going to lead you down a good path. All you're going to do is engage in this fruitless conversation it's not productive back and forth. But his whole thing was they should just find better men. So I'm like, this is what you're telling me. Now, I've been saying this for a long, long time for people who know me, and I just don't like to get in the conversations. I'm like, you cannot tell me that you are a leader, that you should be leading, that you want submission when there's nothing for women to submit to, number one. And number two, if you're telling me that women should just choose better men, you're letting me know that you are incapable of controlling yourself. I can't control myself, so you should have just chosen better. I told you that I was a ding dong, but you should have chosen better. I am absolved of my responsibility. And what happens is every time they want something to be fixed, they say, well, the woman should choose better. Instead of saying, hey, we need to stop what we're doing. Let the women check the women, let the men check the men. But the men want to check women so bad. And I giggle because I'm like, that lets me know there's something going on with the men. And I hate to say it, there's something going on with the men. I think the men are lacking in self-esteem, so it's like the blame game. So I was telling my friend, I said, look, I'm going to be honest. Much of what you're saying is going to fall on deaf ears because I'm tired of this argument, right? I'm like, first and foremost, you, meaning the black male community, and no, this doesn't mean everyone. So I'm not going to start giving a whole bunch of qualifiers, okay? Calm down. I'm like, you should be able to control yourself. You can't say, I want to lead, but say, like, it's the woman's responsibility to close her legs. It's the man's responsibility to not spread his seed. It's the woman's responsibility to not open her legs. You see how that goes? Then my friend made this comment about, I lost my train of thought. Where was I going with it? It was the opening of the legs and, oh, I'll come back to that. It'll come back to me. I just lost my train of thought. But let's move on to the next one with the leadership thing. Like I was telling him, I said, look, in order to lead, in order to gain submission, you have to have something for women to submit to. So he brought up a scenario where he was out and he saw a black woman with a white man who was clearly older. He said, my first thought was that he was rich. I'm like, my first thought was, I don't care. And so we went down this rabbit hole. And I was like, number one, why do you care so much that she was with this man? Is it because he was white? She's like, well, he's only with him. She's only with him probably because he's rich. I'm like, but do you care? I said, most women should be hypergamous. I totally believe in hypergamy, right? Because women are the ones who have the most to lose, especially in the black community, right? Because if you get pregnant, they're going to say, oh, you should have chosen better. Not that I slept with you and contributed to spreading my seed. You should have chosen better because I can't control myself. But I want to lead, right? Even though I'm not in control of myself, but I want to lead and I want you to submit to me. So I said, she's probably with him. Who knows why she's with him? But I don't care. I said, he probably does have some resources. Since when is that wrong? I'm like, are you mad because many black men are incapable of doing that? Because as soon as you want to be with somebody who has money, who's a black man, you're a gold digger. But they don't say the same things for the others and the preferences. So I said, why do you care so much? Because I'm going to be honest. Most of the ones who do that from the black men who are doing that, I don't care. And you saw what happened recently. All these black guys go so hard on black women, and they're the ones getting knifed up and killed. I'm like, so now it's turning. So anyway, he was really concerned about this black woman being with this white man, and she's only with him probably because he has money. Okay, I don't care. This is some good coffee I made. I love my coffee. So anyway, I said, look, this is the deal. Us having this conversation is going to suck balls. All the way suck balls. It's full on shenanigans. See, this is when I should bring up my shenanigans thing, right? It's shenanigans. I said, first of all, I said, if you look at most of the content that's out there with black men, which is why a lot of them I don't listen to. I do not put that in my spirit. I say, look, there's some hatefulness going on. I said, I really think it's just rooted in this whole, like, they really want to be white men. I really believe there's a lot of black men who want to be white men. Now, of course, they're going to deny it, but that requires you to really engage in critical thinking. And this is a very nuanced conversation. I think they want the perceived power of white men. I said, well, in order to do that, you have to build something. You need to create something. You need to educate yourself. You need to own homes. You can't be threatened by every woman. I said, look, the data shows there's a reason why they're not even investing in black men right now. Not that I don't think black men are capable. I think they're highly capable. But I just call a thing a thing. They don't see black men as basically carrying the community. They see black women at this point. Black women are going to be the ones who are going to carry the babies. They're going to be the ones who are going to carry the culture. Right now, You don't see any other group of people who are out there creating music about their woman that's that misogynistic. Only black men do this. I said what I said. There's so much internal hate. I don't I don't even think black men want to have like children that look black. This is crazy. They'll say these crazy things. They want certain body features on women that are typically you would see on black women, or that people assigned to black women. I'll say that. But as long as it's got the right tone, or I don't know, whatever, then all of a sudden it's fine. But there's a lot of hate talk there. And I'm like, for people who are so, I think they're calling them alpha males, I don't know, whatever. Like, I'm like, why is it that black women are always in your mouth? It's so creepy and it's so weird. They are talking about like going out the country. Isn't that like a crime the way they're talking? Like, I feel like there's this weirdness where they're like, we're gonna go out the country and find like these women don't want you because they value you as a man. They want you because of your resources. The same reason why women want you here. And it's not a bad thing to say that women want men with resources, and they want to be loved, and they want to be protected, and they want to have a couple of hee-haws. They want to have a best friend. But the fact of the matter is women want resources too. At least black women are allowed to. But see, here in the United States, black women are not allowed to want someone with resources. So he made the comment to me. I guess he thought he was giving me a jab, but I agreed with him. He said, you don't even want an average black man. I'm like, no, I don't. I'm sorry. Well, actually, I'm not sorry. I was like, no, why should I? I'm not average. I'm amazing in my own way. No, but honestly, why should I want the average black man if you're talking about the average one who's broke or whatever, right? No, I don't. Let's try. Oh, sorry. What is this? I gotta get that out. So he's like, I'm like, well, why should I? And then he got quiet. I'm like, you tell me one reason why should I aim for wanting the average black man? Why is this moving so much? Oh, stop. So look, my husband and I, he's my best friend. I mean, he gets on my nerves too, but I love him. I have children by him. Um, what we're building together is a foundation for our children moving forward. We want to ensure that we engage in generational wealth transfer. We're educating our kids. We are exposing our kids to all kinds of things. So yeah, explain to me why I should want one of the average black man. I'm not. So I said much of what was happening now, like I said, this conversation was much deeper than what I'm getting into on here because I could be here all day. But I just kind of basically said that I need for more men to engage in critical thinking and stop being so hyper focused on this black woman thing. I said, at the end of the day, you want these submissive black women. Well, black women in general, whether people want to admit it or not, you will find more submissive women when they have something to submit to. But for them to submit, they have to feel safe so that they can rest in their vulnerability, right? Not to say that we're weak people or anything like that, but if we don't feel safe and we feel like we have to do everything, why would I need you to lead when I can do everything on my own? If you can't step up to the plate and provide and protect and all these things, what do I need you for? It's not just the paycheck, but the fact of the matter is black men are not leading. So he tried to go off on black women, and I said, wait a second, let's get something straight. I'm like, and you can go ahead and look it up. Black men are like basically last in every category. They're the least educated. They don't own homes. They don't have any money. They don't do anything other than, now I said this as a jab. I'm like, basically, the only thing you need to do for a black man is tell him he could be a rapper or put a ball in his hand. Now, that's not to say that playing the sport is a bad thing, because I do think that those who are playing the sport, let me tell you something, you have to be highly dedicated, highly skilled, all these things. Okay? That takes work ethic. What I am saying is, I was like, outside of that, once they get a ball in their hand and get around some groupies, they don't know how to act. They're so lost and many, I just feel like their conversation is so dumb. They think that, like, okay, that this was like an arrival. So this is the thing. I told him, I said, look, I don't really care what people do and who they're sticking and letting people stick them and all this other stuff. Like, I know that was trash and crass, right? I'm like, I don't care about that. I feel like go where you're happy. But what I will say is just don't dog me out in the process. I said, but many of the men that are having these conversations, they're not really critically thinking. There's a lot of whining. There's a lot of blame game. What's wrong? Then he, oh, this is what I was going to say. He said, what's wrong with the black community is black women are raising black children. I'm like, say that again. Black women are raising the children, right? So let me get this right. Black women who've chosen to step up to the plate and raise the children, they're now blaming them. I find it interesting for the very same people who don't want to raise the children. They want to criticize how the children are being raised. I'm like, you can talk when you, not him personally, but I'm like, you can talk when you step up and you raise your children. You don't get to talk when you are absent. You don't get to have a whole lot of opinions. Step up and raise your children. They'll try to demonize these women. But I'm like, let me tell you where you guys are leading. Now, I didn't confirm this. But I'm like, black men, I said, look, the only self-esteem you have is in your so-called sexual prowess, supposedly, right? But check this out. You guys are just creating a whole new demographic of fatherless children. You're just doing it now with the preferences in the others. And black women are like, go on over there. Let them have you. So then there was the conversation about white men with black women in the commercials and stuff like that. I'm like, why does that bother you? I'm like, because I don't really care. I'm like, I don't care. I just don't care. But it really was like, well, eventually we're just going to have a whole mixed up race full of people. Okay. We're all God's people anyway. I care not. So anyway, getting back to this extreme black women hate and the way they talk about black women, I don't understand. If all these men are out here, they hate these black women, which is why I will not listen to them on my channel. I get them up, I unrecommend. I'm like, I'm not interested. Don't recommend this channel. I don't care, right? If they are into all this extreme black women hate stuff, well, then you should not have a problem with all of these black women deciding to do something else. I'm like, at the end of the day, most of the men don't have a leg to stand on. I'm like, what are you leading in besides creating children? I'm like, even those relationships aren't stable because you guys are separating. So the common denominator is you at this point, because there's a mentality that goes with that. There's a mentality. My clip is not clipping. I've got two clips in the back of my head trying to hold up my hair. And look at this situation. Anyway, I'm just giving you the real. This is what I look like when I wake up every day. I'm going to take some allergy stuff soon. All right, what else? I'm almost done because my fingertips are getting cold. Oh, I know what I was going to say. I think some of these men really just want to be women. I really think they want to be women. I don't understand the obsession with black women. There is this obsession with talking about black women. They're like, they're delusional, and they don't realize the very thing that they're talking about. Like, for every finger pointing out, there's three more pointing at you, right? Remember this? Is it? Can you see? Right? Every time you're pointing, I'm just like cracking up. I'm like, if you spent more time focusing on yourself, bettering yourself, fixing the community, you wouldn't have time to focus on black women. I said, because what black women have done was they said, okay, this is what we're going to do. It doesn't matter what you're doing and you're talking about us. We're going to raise these kids. We're going to do the best we can because these are the resources we have. We're going to do our best to go get educated so that we can provide for our children. Maybe we're not doing it the right way, but we're trying. So we're going to get educated. We're going to raise the kids. We're going to own homes, which is one of the major paths to wealth and building generational wealth transfer. We're going to do these things. And then we're going to work on ourselves. We're going to get the necessary mental health treatment that we need. Now, granted, I do think there's a lot of Jedi mind tricks being put on women out here because now everybody thinks that I think it's like weird. I think a lot of people are trying to convince women that they're just trash, at least the black men are. I think if you're going to get counseling because you want it for your own personal, whatever it is you got going on. Not because some ding dong is telling you that you're just horrible and ugly or whatever. So black women are like, okay, I'm working on my self-love. I'm going to do self-care. I'm going to educate myself. I'm going to increase my earning potential. I'm going to own homes. And yes, I will take on raising the children that have been abandoned by my community, by my significant other, or whatever. And he can say what he wants, but I'm going to do the best I can and let him just do what he wants. He can say whatever. But the fact of the matter is, he's not here. There's this whole big thing about like, oh, you're going to be fetishized. I'm like, but black men aren't fetishizing other people. I'm like, who cares? Don't everyone has some sort of weird fetish anyway. I know I fetishize my husband all the time. I know he's objectified. What I am saying is, so what? If they like being fetishized and somebody wants to who cares? Like, I really don't care. Everyone has a weird fetish anyway. So I say, why does it bother you so much? Why? So I find that a lot of men will like to, when they're talking to me, like, oh, you're different. They'll try to turn me into a pick me, like, but you're different than those other black women. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm actually not. Because I do fall into the category. I'm educated. I owned homes before I met my husband. I owned two, actually. I traveled the world when I was in the military and when I wasn't in the military. And then my husband traveled the world with work. And then next thing you know, we were traveling the world together. And that's what we're doing for our kids. We make sure our kids get on planes all the time. It's like normal. They eat at certain restaurants so that they're exposed. When they go on vacation, they know what it's like. The only thing that they haven't done, except for my oldest, is flown business or first class. You know, when you got a family of 6, it is tough to fly like that. Now, when it was just my husband and I, we were good. When with my first one, yeah, no, yeah, I think he flew. Was it business or first class when we went to the UK? I don't know. But anyway, with my other kids, yeah, we're coaching it. I thought about doing first class this summer when we go on vacation, but we're going to take our money and throw it into more of some activities while we're away. Where am I going with this? The point is, I don't look for an average black man. And my husband wasn't looking for an average black woman. I mean, he got married. The point I'm getting at is, let me go back. I think a lot of black men want to be like black women. They go out of their way to create memes, negative memes, disparaging memes. They go out of their way to play women in movies. Tyler Perry. They go out of their way to put black women in their comedic content. Chris Rock, he's been riding Jada for years. Kevin Hart, look, he sold out his own daughter. Now, let me go back to the Chris Rock thing for a second, and hopefully we don't have to talk about this anymore. Will Smith was all the way wrong for that, but Chris Rock is problematic anyway. Okay. So him getting slapped, that kind of felt like, wow. Like that, like when he said, wow, it was just so, but it still was all the way wrong. He shouldn't have done it. Will Smith shouldn't have done it. He shouldn't have done it. That should have been handled years ago. Anyway, black men want to be black women. And look, my friend, he was trying to go hard on black men. I'm like, well, I appreciate you defending black men. I have 3 of them that I'm raising that I love dearly. And I tell them all the time, you don't get the luxury of being average. Do understand. You don't have that luxury. There's things you need to do. My oldest, we teach him about investing and everything else. He has his little tiny little IRA. Oh, it's cute. Anyway, I'm like, look, you don't have the luxury of being average. And so he was just kind of like, where was I going with this? Oh, yeah. He was going on. I was telling him about how, look, black men really just want to be like black women. They do. I'm like, you don't get to talk to me until you can fix yourself. Because you're like last in every category, and the trend is showing that you're going backwards. But you want women to submit? It's like, miss me. What are we submitting to? All right. Yeah, so a lot of black men will try to basically turn me into a pick me, but you're different. I'm like, no, I'm like every other black woman. I am. I do the best I can. I raise my children. I went to school. I don't have any student loans. You know, I was very fortunate. My undergrad, I went I had ROTC and I had other scholarships. So I had a teeny bit of student loans that I paid off in a couple of years, but almost my entire education was paid for. And I bootstrapped my master's degree. So I don't have any loans. So they'll probably say, oh, but you probably have a ton of student loans. Negative, ghostwriter, zero. That's how you do it. I don't have any loans. Um, yeah, I'm like everybody else. You do the best you can. I'm trying to raise these children. My husband's trying to raise these children. He's very active with my kids, and so am I. When I get off of this live here, we're going to eat some breakfast, do some online church because we're not going to be able to go sit in a church, and we're going to get my daughter ready for her lacrosse game. She has a game. Her grandparents and her uncles are going to come out and watch her play because this is how we get down in the family. We're dysfunctional. Don't get me wrong. I have just as much of a dysfunctional family as everybody else, but we are a family. And then the last thing, I hear black men a lot saying that black women don't have options. I'm like, really? Are you serious right now? You really think that they don't have options? Look, let me just say this. I had many of opportunities to date white men. I have plenty of white men who are my boyfriends with no benefits. Let me just say this. I don't consider white men to be better or the standard. I don't consider black men to be better or the standard. I consider men to be men. Men are going to be men. I've even been hit on by an Asian man. I didn't even know it until somebody else told me. It was the Asian girl. She was like, oh, you didn't even realize this is how Asian men are. I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't know. Let me just say that men are going to be men. I don't think white men are better or the standard. I think they do operate with a different type of privilege, right? I mean, they have access to more resources and that type of thing. But at the end of the day, men are going to be men. So I say, look, you think black women don't have options? Let me tell you something. I'm like, the level. Don't come out. Don't come out. I'm live. No. Okay, so my family thinks it's funny. They locked me out. They locked me out. I can hear them laughing. You see what I'm saying? They're like, my family sucks. Getting back to what I'm saying, the options. Black women do have options. I think black men want to spew out this hatred. And I'm like, black dudes, like, seriously, why can't you just focus on yourself? Or why don't we focus on working together? I don't know. I just kind of feel like black men are going through it right now. And I feel like black women can't help them. They can't help them. They're going to have to figure some things out because black women were already abandoned and they had to go try to figure some things out. Black women do have options. I think a lot of times black men think that other men don't like black women, and I think it's flat out not true. Oftentimes it was because they didn't have access and they thought that black women didn't want them or whatever. I'm trying to take that off. All right, so look, I've got to cut this because my fingers are like icicles. You see what they look like? They're stiff. My fingers are like icicles. My family is trolling me. I can hear them. They already tried to lock me out and then they unlocked it. I would have just come in through the garage. Um, yeah, that's where I'm at with it. I was going to actually probably give a much better, more in depth version of this, but I'm too cold and I figured I should just do it before I kind of forgot some of my kind of like low key talking points. I wanted like wrong side. This is jacked up. Look at this white stuff. I was using this stuff called glaze. Ugh, I got a couple clips in the back, so I don't want to take this out. Anyway, all right. So look, you guys see me in my natural, all natural. Um, I just wanted to have this conversation, just sitting on my front porch, and all right. Don't forget to subscribe. Oh, how do I get out of here? Yeah, don't forget to subscribe. Thumbs up. Subscribe.